Well, welcome back to the channel. It's Monday afternoon, September 22nd, 23rd. So, we're bringing back Civil Air Recast, 1907 to present. So, we're into this a little ways, so let's just pick up where we left off last time, wherever that may be. Okay, so we're on European struggles, UK and France, 1945 to 1955. Seems like we've read this stuff. How much do we have to read about post-war struggles? Ooh, soon we'll be in modern era. So let's finish off this post-war stuff. UK government applied itself to the problem of post-war commercial aviation in 1942, but came up with requirements that closely constrained its aircraft manufacturing. France continued the development of design nurtured under Nazi rule. Britain began considering the post-war needs of commercial air aviation as early as 1942, when the so-called Barbizon Committee was formed under John Moore Barbizon, first Baron Barbizon of Cara. In 1909, Mauro Barbizon had become the first Englishman to make a successful power-controlled flight in a heavier-than-air machine, and he went on to become the Minister of Transportation and then the Minister of Aircraft Production. The committee was tasked with assessing the air transportation needs of the British Empire and the Commonwealth. It worked steadily into 1945 before arriving at its list of 4 primary configurations or types. Each type was optimized for the particular needs of the Empire or Commonwealth, as well as the requirements of the airlines expected to operate it. BOAC, and later its domestic and regional British European Airways division, called Type 1, a large, long-range transatlantic airliner. Type 2, the DC-3 and Dragon Rapid Replacement. DC-3 for the medium-haul airliner, and Type 4 for jet. All 4 were closely tailored to the needs of the British Airlines, and in almost all cases this would hinder their sales prospects in the open market. Right here is a Vickers Viking 1B from 1946. Let's see if it's got the type. Nope, no type here. It could carry 24 to 36 passengers. The Type 1 requirements were settled by the Bristol Barbizon, a behemoth powered by 8 Bristol Citroen piston engines driven 4 pairs of rotating propellers. The aircraft were rendered useless by the passenger accommodations ordered by BOAC, whose management considered that transatlantic travelers would all be wealthy and demand the utmost in space and luxury. The Barbizon facility therefore included a cinema, cocktail bar, lounge, a central cabin with a table and chairs, separate forward cabins for all small groups of travelers. Total capacity was for 100 passengers, making aircraft operating costs per passenger per mile astronomical. But imagine traveling like that. Woo! Before it had left the ground, its first flight on September 4th, 1949. The Barbizon was doomed to failure. Nevertheless, work began on the turbo-powered Mk2, but the machine was never completed since BOAC quickly lost interest in the project. Both Barbizon were scrapped in 1953. Type 2 and beyond. Britain had the dual requirements for the DC-3 and the Dragon Rapid Replacement. Some of the biplanes Rapid flew throughout the conflict, and the type remained in service for several years after the war. BEA pushed for a large machine that suggested by the committee, while subsequent development left turboprop powered as an obvious choice. Fearing that this might be a technology step too far, the committee split the category into 2 Type 2A piston powered and Type 2 B. Turboprop. Since PEA had suggested a larger design and there was still perceived need for an original small machine, a Type 4 was also introduced. The Type 2A specification was satisfied by the airspeed ambassador, reliable, modern, successful type that served BA well, but Type 2B proved to be among the most successful of all. Vickers' Viscounts satisfied the need for BEA, but also managed to achieve considerable export success, and more than 400 were built. The Type 5 requirement eventually morphed into Type 5A, which produced the modern successful milestone Marathon as a DC-3 replacement, and the Type VB, which replaced the Dragon Rapid with a far more widely accepted Havadavale Dove. Type 3 produced the unfortunate Avril Tudor, ordered in 1944. The Tudor delivered C-54-like tailwind carriage. The Tudor 1 had been intended for a transatlantic route, and its various designs problems ultimately led BOA to buy for Commonwealth route. BOC intended to operate the Tudor 2 alongside Qantas and South American Airways. Once again, the design disappointed. However, the BOAC buying Canadian C4s, Qantas ordered Constellations, and CAA taken DC4s. The de Havilland Comet settled the Type 4 requirement as an aircraft built through incredible foresight, but once again tied too closely to the perceived need of the UK airlines. It became the world's first operational jet airliner, but sales terms was almost overshadowed by the Boeing 707. Below is the Riley Turbo Skyliner. De Havilland Heron carried 14 passengers with a range of 805 miles. That ain't going very far, very fast, is it? Other options. On August 1st, 1946, British Airways and British South American Airways were set to operate along BOAC. For the first time, Britain was planning routes to and within South America, and these three associated airlines, along with several others, attempted to build early post-war schedules and establish themselves as new operators. Were eager to begin flying, waiting for the Barbizon Committee. Design was out of the question, so Britain's airlines inevitably leaned heavily on the RAF. RAF is the British Air Force. Surplus C-47s. The Dragon Rapid also remained reliable in numerous types, but there was other interesting options. Everon was designed by the York for wartime service by the hanging a new transport fuselage on Lancaster's wings and tail service, while the Lancaster was rather more modern conversion, adding streamlined nose and tail cone and passenger seat to the basic bomber design. Several ex-RAF Halifax transports were also modified for airline service as Halton. See, British government politics, slow development and growth. Below is a aviation trader ATL 98 Caravel. Crew 3 carried, how many passengers are here? What does it say? Range 2,300 miles. That's much better. Oh, that's that guy right down there. Vickers were a little more ambitious with the Viking, a short, medium-range aircraft ordered by the British government in 1944, combined with all new airlines and fuselage with the wings. Limited bomber service to Europe. BEA continued Vickers operation into 1954. More than 160 aircraft were built in 3 versions. These types went on to serve faithfully with second-line operators. The last examples were retired in 1960. The other interesting option for the flying boat operations using modified surplus short Sunderlands. BOC eventually used 24 demilitarized Sutherland's, taking the first of the rather basic machine in 1942. After the war, they were improvised by Heath Standard, and more than were adopted to the fleet. While serving, others were used by airlines in South America, Australia, and New Zealand. Later, a more luxurious conversion was completed by BOC as the Strataham and several more of the aircrafts were created for the carrier. BOC also took on the short Solent and commercial Deviant of the Seafort. Itself a wartime improvement on the Sutherland, Till and others became solvent customers as the aircraft were gradually improved, and although the days of flying boats operations were numbered, the type proved so alluring that the final example served with airboats in Virginia Islands between 1974 and 1978. Air France had become boosted a thriving post-war aviation industry, and although activities had hampered by war, essential skills had at least been maintained by war production for the German invaders. Some of the 1930s prototypes and designs were placed in the absence of the beginning of the war to dust off further development as soon hostility inevitably. Air France took on DC-3s and DC-4s, later Constellations, but it was also served as indigenous industry. A major reorganization and nationalization of the aircraft manufacture had been accomplished in 1941, and from within these structures the notable types emerged. Back in 1935, Brunswick had begun work in the 730 flying boat. Built to the extent of two examples, it spawned the civil 731 and the 760 land plane. The huge double-decker airliner that resulted from this work flew for the first time in 1949. Air France took 12 of the improved Breguet 763 Province version primarily for the use of its routes in 1964. Here is a Air France 1953. 3 crew members, 107 passengers, 242 miles per hour, and range 1,400 miles. So a little better, a lot more passengers. Well, that's it for now. So next time we'll start with other contenders and a lot more planes to look at, and we'll go over those. So for now, signing off. Have a good day. Keep on reading.